Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Railroads Online, episode 5, I believe, where, as you can see in the last episode, I kind of left off saying that I was just gonna fill up the lumber mill to the max so that we would have max production of our beams and lumber, I think are what those two goods are called, while also having back stock for whenever we use up some of those. So as you can see, we have maximum amount of goods in and maximum amount of goods out, which is really good because we are going to need all of those. And it also means we won't have to run logs for at least a little while. Now, this being all filled up means that our next order of business is going to be connecting up here to the iron ore mine, because that's what takes the excuse me, yawning. The iron ore mine, because that's what takes the beams and the lumber that we have produced here at the lumber mill. And it'll produce our iron ore, which we can take to the smelter. Ironworks, well, no. There is a smelter. Where is smelter? And that'll take our iron ore and cordwood, which will produce rails and iron bars, I think, and then so on and so forth from there. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. I think what we're going to focus on today is just building the track to the iron ore mine. So let's get started. And the first part of getting started is actually just going to be planning out how we're going to get there. And I think that's going to be a little tough because I'm really not sure what the best way to go is going to be. Because you kind of look at it and man, I don't know why I'm yawning so much. It's not that late. I don't feel that tired. Anyway. One way is you could try to go up this way and connect up to here, but you have the issue of there's a big incline right there, as you can see from the elevation map, or topographic map. That's what they're called. But this area does not look too steep. It's obviously still going to be steep, but I bet we could probably snake through right there. But then you kind of have the same issue that we're running into here, where this is all going to be super steep because it's up towards more mountainous terrain. I mean, if we look, we're heading over in that direction. And even though those mountains right there are not necessarily part of the map, you can see the dramatic increase of incline the further you go in that direction, which means that obviously we have a challenge ahead of us. So I'm just really trying to think. I mean, I'm thinking Mike could go up here, go around this way, stop by the ironworks route, and then make it up to the ore mine. Or the other route I'm thinking is go the super long way. So basically, go around here, up, and then kind of cut around there. And I think that would work, and it might even be flatter. But let's go check it out, because we can go into... I'm just going to kind of leave the train chilling. Although... yeah, sure, why not? It'll be fine. So if we go this way, which is the general direction that we're going to be heading, I think I'm just gonna... I do not know why I'm yawning so much. I don't feel that tired, but I think I'm just gonna try to head... I think that's the iron works right there. I think I'm just gonna try to head straight to the iron ore mine and see what it's looking like. I believe this is it right here. Let's see, if we look on our map here. Oh, no, I passed it. Where did how did I miss it? I'm right on top of it. Which means that, okay, yeah, here we go. Okay, so here it is right here. This is where we'll get the iron ore from. And then we'll take it over to this smelter right here. So, this is actually a lot flatter than I thought. means we could probably go around here and just kind of go via the slightly boring route, but probably the safer bet. Kind of cut around here. Do a little Tokyo drifting around this part of the mountain here. I just realized I should do something real quick, because y'all probably can't see anything, and that is my bad. Hashtag bad YouTuber. Anyway, this appears to be a slight problem. But I'm thinking if we could just... Is that the lumber mill right there? No, it is. I wonder, could we go this way? Ooh, this is looking promising. That does not look quite as promising. But maybe around this way. If we just take what seems like the slightly longer route, I think it might actually end up being more direct. It really is. It does look like they carved it out right here. So I'm thinking that this is probably intended to be a way to get up. Oh yeah, I mean, come on, that is literally hand sculpted. Okay, I mean, come on. Literally meant to be. So yeah, this is the route we're gonna go, because it leads directly from the lumber mill, which will be the fastest for us. And I'm just gonna freehand it as much as I can. And see what works, see what doesn't. Just kinda, you know, wing it. And yeah, I'll check back in with what I get built. Okay, so I've done a good bit of track building. I've done what will very possibly be the hardest part of what we do today. And that's this kind of bendy hill section. So I started up here and I was going to build down, and then I realized that was a bad idea. So if we follow this, I ended up going from the start up. But if we follow this, I do wish I could have gotten everything to line up exactly in the middle of this pass, but unfortunately things just weren't really working out that way a lot of the time. But for like this bit, you can see it's generally in the middle. That is a sharp turn, which is not good, but this, it was all a little jank. Most of this is also at a 4% gradient, which means that I'm not sure if the Montezuma is going to be able to handle this. So that's definitely going to be we're going to have to see type thing, because I don't know. I don't have the most confidence in a 4% gradient with the Montezuma with, you know, 4 to 8 cars. I mean, it could probably do it with 4. It's just, if I'm wanting to do an 8-car train, then I'm not quite so confident. But, I don't know. Maybe it'll work fine. We're going to have to see. But worst case scenario, we save up a little bit by selling goods to the freight depot and buy a new engine. So really that is the worst case scenario, and you know, that would not be a bad deal. So even then I'm not worried about it. I do wish I do wish I was a better track builder, but unfortunately I'm not. So I also have to keep in mind that this track that I'm building right now really shouldn't be beyond a 3% gradient either. Which means it's kind of ugly. But I guess I could do, to make it look a little bit better, like I did whenever I built the rail down to the lumber mill, I could do this type of wall instead, so it looks a little less out of place. I mean, I guess I can do 4% gradient down, that's fine. I'll try to bend it around that way a little bit more. See, this is one of the things I do not like about the track building in this game is sometimes your track just kind of like goes. Just goes and does things and stuff, and it's kind of just like every once in a while it's kind of just like, alright, peace, and it leaves. And yeah, I'm not a huge fan of whenever my track does that, I gotta be honest, but the track building in this game is a lot better than it was, and I mean veterans of this game who have played it for quite some time will know what I'm talking about. And I didn't even start playing it till after they had already made a lot of the improvements that they made. But man, even whenever I first started playing a while back, it was rough even then. But like I said, it has gotten a lot better, so good on them for the improvements that they've made. I'll come back to that. We need to figure out how we are going to get from this connector right here. We need to make a loop back around, which means, yay, more switches, and demolishing that line, which, thank the Lord, it is not that long. Switch right, and we'll do the switch on the left side for a little bit of a easier differentiation. Wow, that would be very convenient. Sorry, it's talky, bad, nuh-uh, cannot do. I don't know why I'm struggling with speech so much right now, but anyway, what I'm trying to say is that would have been really convenient if we were trying to connect the right one to the existing track, but unfortunately, we were not. And the existing track, dang, I built that in a massive stretch of track. That's crazy. Oh my goodness, this is going to be a whole hassle, isn't it? I'll just do it the slightly more jank way. It's going to be... No, that's horrible. Literally horrid. I hate that. And it's going to be... why do you got to make it so difficult? Game? Just... By the way, that's I ended up operating with 7 log cars because I realized I could not go back up that steep of a hill with 8 log cars. So whenever I was grinding the logs, so that's why there's just a random log car right there, in case you were curious. This is a little bit too elevated for my liking, but it's not the end of the world, so even though it doesn't look great, I'm gonna leave it. I mean, this line in our rail is very important because we are probably going to be traversing it a lot, if I had to imagine. Whenever it comes to connecting this side of industry to this side of industry, unless we build an alternate line that swoops back around behind here, I imagine that there's probably going to be a good bit coming through here to connect these two sides for at least a little while. I do also need to be careful because, like, I hadn't even seen that on the map. I just thought, oh, I didn't notice this part because I thought it was just, oh, steep incline, there's no way to connect those parts. So I do need to be careful whenever I'm looking at the map to make sure I'm judging everything properly and not just kind of jumping to assumptions. Which I think is something that could be applied to real life as well. Don't jump to assumptions. Make sure you're looking at everything you do and, you know, do everything with a certain amount of caution. Not to say that you shouldn't, you know, not to say that you should live your life always doing the most cautious thing, but, you know, be cautious, be careful, that sort of thing. Anywho, is this gonna work? No, that's what I figured. At what point will it let me just kind of like... Yeah, no, it did. It's totally glitched out. Alright, well, I guess I'll just have to build the actual loop and then kind of come back around. Ooh, yeah, I'm sure that feels great, just smacking your face into a tree. Sure, that's fun. Man, sometimes using this camera, it really does feel like you're drifting. Man, back in the railroad days, they called this the good old Texas Loop. Just kidding, they didn't. I'm not a... As much as I love trains, I'm not a railroad aficionado. It would be cool. I wish I knew more about that stuff. I mean, I find it genuinely very fascinating. That entire time period. The technology from that time period, I mean, that time period is fascinating. But... Anywho. Some tracks of this game's theme music kind of remind me of the SpongeBob theme song. Don't know why, it's just some of the beats are reminiscent to me. Alright, well, that is most of our rail built up here. So I'm gonna kind of go through and make sure that there's nothing directly on the railway. It doesn't look great. Whatever. It's fine for right now. So yeah, that's our loop back built, which is good. Yeah, so we just really need to, if we go all the way back up here, the main thing I would say that we need to do is we need to connect up to the actual iron ore mine, which is right up there. That's it, I think. Which means a lot of relatively flat building, because let me just make sure, let me double check myself real quick and make sure that this is the iron ore mine up here. It's a good thing that those two are close together. I'm not sure if that'll be relevant in our actual playthrough, but I feel like it will be. Okay. So yeah, I was right. It's just going to be a lot of very kind of boring plains building, but you know what? Boring is best. That's what Ryan Reynolds' character says in The Hitman's Bodyguard, right? Boring is best, I think. That doesn't really apply to building rails in an imaginary situation, but it just came to mind. Anywho, I'm going to work on getting all that built up, and I will be back whenever that's done. Or getting done, at least. Okay, I've connected up to the iron ore mill. And, like, this part is pretty janky. It's pretty janky. That up there is a 40-degree turn. But the rest of it is like, let me actually sit up in my seat instead of slouching for once. The rest of it is actually, it's still actually pretty not great, but it'll get the job done, maybe. I hate how that looks, but anyway. The only bad thing about freehand mode is that, this is the thing I was talking about, by the way, that's kind of janky. It's just a big ol' bridge looking thing. I need to stop doing these at night so you guys can actually see. There. That should be almost daytime. There we go. Oh, beautiful. Anyway, this is the main thing I was talking about. It's just kind of this big old stone bridge-ish thingy. But for the most part, it's done. So we are going to see if the train can make it up there. I don't know if it's going to, but we're going to try it with 7 cars attached. And we'll just kind of drop 1 or 2 at a time as we need to if it can't make it. And yeah, we're going to see how this goes. So I'm going to go ahead and cut to the exciting part. Okay, well, we're here now. We just came off of this loop back from the logging mill. And we are now heading up to the main part of the track here, the challenging part. As I said, we have 7 cars attached right now, 2 that have 1 log in them, and most of this is at roughly a 4% gradient. I don't think there's anything under 50-degree turns in this section, but I'm not 100% on that part. So, like I said, majority 4% turns, some 3%, but yeah. We are going to see how the good old Montezuma does here. And these trees are going to get in the way. And I really hope the Montezuma is able to push them out of the way, because if not, we're in for some trouble. Yep. That went pretty poorly, I would say. Hey, stop, please. Okay, cool. That should stop eventually. Sometimes. Just kidding, it's okay. To be expected, first time flukes. The main issue here is that we lost all of our momentum, which means we're going to have to go all the way back down the hill just to build it back up. Which is the only unfortunate part about having an engine that's fast but not powerful. We can build up, you know, all the speed that we want, but you cannot maintain it once you're going up something. So, have to redo our running start here. Okay, break 0, break 0, and break 0. Okay, let's go back down the hill a little bit and then we'll build back up our momentum. You know, while we're waiting for this to happen, a little bit of a story time. Oh crap, reverse the wrong direction. While we're waiting for this to go on, a little bit of a story time. Earlier today, I went to the doctor's to get 2 vaccines that I have to have before the school year starts. They're for like meningitis or something, very basic. Everybody has to have them at some point or another, or almost everybody. So I went to go get those, and they only had one in stock for some reason at the doctor's office. Like, they ran out because of everybody needing to get them before the school year started. And like, okay, that's understandable. So I got one, and my mom, she wanted me to get blood work. So I was like, hey, blood work. And the doctor was like, okay, cool, sounds great, we'll do blood work. And so we were out there, and I don't think I've ever explained this before, so I don't know how anybody would know, but I am not a big fan of the sight of my own blood, by which I mean I always get lightheaded whenever I see my own blood, if it's in like large amounts or places that I feel like it shouldn't be. Like, if I get a small cut on my finger and it like bleeds a little bit, like there's a couple droplets of blood, I'm not gonna freak out. But like, one time I cut myself really bad at work and my entire hand was just covered in my own blood, and that was pretty bad. And I'm pretty sure the only reason I didn't pass out is because I was trying to hide it from everybody else at work. I don't know why, I just thought they would be mad for some reason. I don't know, that was a little weird, but I was panicky. So, anyway, or like one time I stubbed my toe so hard that my big toe was bleeding pretty bad. And I almost passed out from that too. But anyway, we go in and we do blood work, which the last time I had blood work was like 8 years ago, whenever I had like my tonsils out or something. So we go to do blood work, and I sit down in the chair. They have the needle in my arm. They just put it in. There's like a little droplet of blood around the needle. Not too bad. And I look away, and my mom, who's there with me, starts telling me about how my brother always had to look at them draw his blood as they did it. And that started really freaking me out. Like, by which I mean I just started getting super lightheaded and everything. And everything, you know how whenever you rub your eyes for too long, you start kind of seeing those geometric patterns of like triangles and squares in your vision and stuff? Dang it. I was hoping that that wouldn't happen. Anyway, I started seeing all the weird shapes and everything, and I was like, uh-oh, this can't be good. And as I expected, it was not, and very shortly after that I passed out. Now, this is the second time in my life that I've like fully and completely passed out. I got really close a third time whenever I stood up too fast, and I was like really close to losing it on my porch. But anyway, 2 times that I passed out. Once was low blood sugar because I didn't eat breakfast, and I was in gym class in like 7th grade in middle school. And I passed out then. And that was, I felt like I was blinking. I was actually out for several minutes, but I felt like I just blinked and I was back awake. And that was a whole thing, which was obviously scary. but ended up being okay. No lasting issues or anything. Um, but today, I passed out for, well, it was probably no more than 15 or 30 seconds, but I dreamt while I passed out. Like, I dreamt that I was in space, but I was flying through space with this other girl that I couldn't quite recognize. And I was flying through space, and the space was purple. It's like the entire vastity of space was purple. Um, I got distracted by this log. So everything was purple, and like all of space was purple, not in like a weird way where I'm in this like a purple room that's been painted or something. All of space was purple, like there was as if there was a massive purple galaxy that was just so close and so large it was taking up my entire view of the space around me. So it was that, and I was flying through this space with a girl that I do not recognize, and I have no idea who she is. And we're flying through space, and we're surrounded by these like purplish gray asteroids. But they're not quite asteroids, they're more like platforms that kind of float almost in a cartoonish way. And we're surrounded by these platforms, and we're just kind of flying through space. And that's the entire dream. Like, even in the dream, I wasn't there for more than a few seconds, but it's still weird that I would dream then and not dream the first time I passed out. And then I came to, but I didn't realize what was happening. So I just sat there for a few seconds, and I was so disoriented that I thought I was having another dream, because for some reason everything was blue in my vision. Like, whenever I woke up, everything was blue, including like all the nurses and doctors standing around me. And I don't remember anybody saying anything, but I feel like they probably were talking and I just couldn't like hear them for some reason. But I came to, and everything was blue, and I just did nothing. I just sat there with my eyes open for a second because I thought I was dreaming. And then I was like, wait a minute, this is real life. And I said, whoa, that was crazy. Those were my first words whenever I woke up, was whoa, that was crazy. Which, patting myself on the shoulder would be such a funny thing to hear from somebody who just like opened up, stared into space for a second and said, whoa, that was crazy. That would be, I would laugh if I was on the receiving end of that. But anyway, I said that, and then it was really weird because it was like how in old TV, like everything in my vision was like I was watching an old TV. Everything was grainy, right? And I could also hear everybody, but they were like super muffled, as if I was wearing, well, earmuffs. So everything was as if I was wearing earmuffs and looking at life through like a blue tinted grainy old TV. It was very, very strange, but also incredibly fascinating to experience. And yeah, then they had me go lie down. My blood sugar was also low because I hadn't eaten lunch yet. So that was probably, that and my phobia of my own blood were the two reasons that I passed out. But yeah, whenever I first came to, my heart rate and my blood pressure was so low that they couldn't measure it. Like, it wasn't reading on the device they had. So they had to wait till I was more awake. And even whenever I became more awake, like lying down a few minutes after I'd woken up, my heart rate was still 54 beats per minute. So I was out cold, like way, way, way further out than the first time I had passed out way back in middle school. But that whole thing was a crazy experience, and all the doctors and nurses were great. But yeah, that was just a very, very interesting experience. And yeah, that's my story time for today. So, how's y'all's day been? Still can't believe that happened, honestly. That was pretty crazy. For me, at least, to experience that. Getting back to Railroads Online, it looks like we're almost there. And so far, everything's gone pretty well. The train's made it up all the inclines without losing too much speed. Yeah, really, I'd say everything's been going great, so happy about that. This track appears to be going well so far, but really the main challenge is going to be up here, right around this area. Okay, here we go. Coming up on the big hill, I think this might be a 5% grade right here, leading into a 40-degree curve. So this might honestly be the most challenging part of the whole track. Very, very possibly. So we're going to see if it's able to make it up here. We're hovering right around 15 miles per hour right now, maybe like 16, 17. We're maintaining pretty good speed so far, dropping down. I imagine we'll probably drop down right around 10 miles per hour in total. Not drop down 10 miles per hour, drop down to 10 miles per hour, roughly. I'm not too concerned about this curve. It is a little sharp, not too bad at all, though. Okay, and just like that, we made it up. Well, that is just great. I'm very happy with how this all turned out. Although, I do not like those wibble wobbles. But as long as it stays generally fine, we'll be good. And yeah. It looks like that is our connection to the iron ore. Okay, I apologize for the random cut right there. But anyway, I thank you so very much for watching, and if you enjoyed, please make sure to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!